Oh, really?
Number. I don't know if you can, but I can.
Can they talk? They can't talk, though.
That's it. No, we're live, guys. We're live. This is it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. This is welcome to the YouTube world, the world of media around the globe, where everybody can watch what we are doing and what we're saying. And this is exciting. This is exciting. Baruch Hashem. Okay, so let us introduce ourselves. I'm Rabbi David Kadosh, Rabbi of the Sephardic Kehillah Center, and here are my two very good friends. You guys want to introduce yourself?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll go first, Warren. So I'm Jimmy Ben Simon, and I'm someone that has always been curious about reading and learning books, sefers that we are told not to since I was very young. And interestingly enough, Mora Nivouchim was a book, or Guide of the Perplexed was a book that I first read when I was 19 and didn't understand a word, and was lucky enough to then read it a couple more times and understood very little of it. And after we finished a 3-year cycle, the three of us, learning the Ramchal's Dat Tivunot, we decided that let's read and learn this book together, and see if we can gain and grow from it spiritually. And that's the goal. The goal at the end of the day is to learn and to connect to Hashem. So that's my purpose and goal on this podcast.
On this platform. All right, Warren.
My name is Warren Esabai. I'm also a big Rambam follower, lover of his works. I first read the Mora Nivouchim maybe 15, 20 years ago. I was a bit older than Jimmy. I wasn't quite 19. I was a bit older. So I think I understood a little bit more, maybe. I read this red book, which is written in Shakespearean, pretty much Shakespearean English. So when I read it back then, I looked at it myself. I attempted to learn it by myself, and it took a long time. I had to read it very slowly, and I had to read passages over and over again to understand the depths that the Rambam brings forth in this book. And for those who are not aware, the Rambam wrote this book. This was I believe his last masterpiece, published masterpiece. So he wrote this one later, and we'll find that as we learn through, a lot of the rabbis notice that comment on this book that he almost gives conflicting rulings and opinions from his previous works, like Mishneh Torah. Some of them say that maybe it's an error, but I think most of them, the consensus is that as the Rambam grew older and wiser, he was already super wise when he was young, but as he grew older and wiser, he changed his position on certain topics, something that only comes about with age and experience. So this is probably, Mora Nivouchim is probably his greatest, well, I shouldn't say his greatest, Mishneh Torah was huge, but was it like, I'm searching for the word, his last stamp, his last opinion on many subjects. So I'm looking forward to learning it with Rabbi Kadosh and my cousin Jimmy, who I enjoy learning with very much.
Okay, well, listen. Let's for those that will be watching on YouTube, wherever you are watching from, we'll let you know that we are currently in Toronto. We all reside in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. We are all members of the same Bet Knesset. We've known each other for pretty much over at least 2 decades, if not now we're into the 3rd decade. Bli Ayin Hara. A lot of us have learned of these two, us three. I have learned way back, but more specifically in the last 3 years, as Jim mentioned, we embarked on a journey of very deep learning, specifically with Dat Tevunot from the Ramchal, as Jimmy mentioned, and that was eye-opening on so many fronts. In fact, I implore and encourage everyone to really, if they have the time, to have the chance to check out the Dat Tevunot, because any works really of the Ramchal is tremendous and really insightful and eye-opening. And after we finished, like Warren said, it was like, okay, what's next? What are we going to do? What is the next step in our limud? And we decided to tackle the words of the Rambam. Unlike Jim and Warren, I have never learned this. So this is going to be a total learning experience. And I actually want to say on the record that I think everybody should know that all of us are learning this. This is not a podcast where we are teaching this. We're not doing research in advance. We are not, well, maybe we'll read a few lines in advance, but that rarely happens. And we're not here to teach More Nebuchim. We're here to learn More Nebuchim, the guide of the Perplexed. And through the learning, we discuss, we delve, we dive, we introspect, and we are able to then articulate our thoughts and expand on what we feel that the Rambam is saying and why it is so meaningful and why this book specifically stamped his his reputation as one of the greats. Moshe ad Moshe lo haya kemoshe. Of course, the Sefer was written in Arabic, and there hasn't really been a well, maybe I shouldn't say that, but many attempts to translate this book in Hebrew and English and Spanish fall short. That's the truth, and a lot of academics and educators will say that nothing is the same as the Arabic. And you know what? If we all knew Arabic, at least us three, we'd probably study in the Arabic and learn it from there. But we don't, and therefore, the little research that I did was to ask some people who did learn it, and which version or which translation, which explanation did they feel was very well done, and we decided to follow this. Right, so this is where we're going to be reading from. So this is the Guide of the Perplexed, Volume 1, translated and with an introduction and notes by Shlomo Pinis, introductory essay by Leo Strauss. It's actually 2 volumes. This is Volume 1. And really the first third of the book is introduction by the author, not the Rambam. We're not going to do that. We are going to go right into the words of the Rambam. I think that we have to just, restate and reiterate the importance of going through this book slowly and with an open mind. And one of the most, I guess, the best things that I love learning about with you guys specifically is that we each come from different angles, both in our experiences in our lives. And we're able to look at things in different ways, and it's all good. It's all Torah. It's all Emet, and that's what made the last 3 years been so successful. I want to thank you for that, because I know it wasn't me who did most of the talking. It was you guys, and I got to learn. Got to learn a lot from both of you. And
no, me? I know. I don't talk.
And like right now, it seems like I'm the one doing most of the talk. But I promise you, that's not what it's going to be. I know that. I'm going to just sometimes take a seat back. This is late at night on a Thursday evening, and sometimes the mind isn't as sharp as it is in the beginning of the day. But Bezrat Hashem, we'll get through it. Anything you guys want to add before we?
Just very quickly to add to what you said. So the book, the version that we chose. The truth is, there's limited versions on More Nebuchim, even though it's such a great work, and we had a hard time finding a version that had Hebrew and English in it. Yeah. So the version that we're going to be learning from is in English. So just to keep that in mind. But since it was written in the original Arabic, I don't think we're going to lose so much from the Hebrew to the English. I think we'll get the concept.
Yeah, because the Hebrew in itself is a translation as well, so it's not the original.
So yeah, it's going to work.
Important to know that, and like I think, like Jim mentioned at the beginning, there isn't much available online on More Nebuchim, and we hope that this experience will educate, will maybe inspire other people to not only listen to us but explore the works of the Rambam. He was a tremendous mind, no question. Yad Chazaka, the Mishneh Torah, what he was able to accomplish in his life is truly, truly unbelievable. And I look forward to beginning this.
So, not to be left out, I just want to make an important point, and that is, I mean, the bottom line, why everyone, well, people are interested in this book, this Sefer. Why we wanted to read this Sefer is because there's a certain mystique about the Sefer. We hear a lot about it when we're younger in yeshiva. You got to be 40 years old. You can't just read it. It's like Kabbalah. It's a little bit too deep, and that's what makes it attractive, I guess. But there's something that's very important that struck me in the introduction, and it's sort of a a theme that runs in all these types of these mystical books, and that is that these books are not written. They're not for everyone. Something that was clear, and I think Ramban is going to say it in his introduction, but it struck me, and that is that this book is not for everyone to read, not for everyone to study. It's for, quote, a religious man for whom the validity of our law has become established in his soul already has full emunah. And when I read that, it struck me because that's exactly very similar to what Ramchal said when he did the introduction of Dat Tibunot, which is these rabbis are so brilliant and fearless that they're telling you in advance, if you think you have doubts, if you think things are unclear as to how Hashem works and how this all fits into your world, we're going to make it worse, because we're going to tell you what we have in our minds that are doubts, and then we're going to fix it. But if you're not ready, if you don't have a base of Torah and Emunah, then the questions they're going to ask, the topics they're going to bring up, like Ramchal and Rambam, are going to frighten you. And that's what I think is something that's very important before we start this Sefer and this book. This is not midrash. This is not legends and stories, and this is very deep philosophical material that discusses the characteristics of God, the creator of the universe, and it's not easy stuff, and it's something that I think people have to understand. It really isn't for everyone, but at the end of the day, you have to sort of have already very strong emunah and very strong belief in Hashem, and now we can start to navigate and go through the concepts. But I thought that was important to bring up before we get going.
Okay, very good. Right, ready to go?
Yep.
Okay. So before his introduction, he gives this dedicatory remark. It seems to like his son, or his student, Rabbi Yosef. However, to the right side, I don't know if you see, there's a pasuk here that they quote from Yeshayahu, chapter 35. It caught my attention, and maybe it'll set the tone to what we're about to read. The translation of the pasuk here in this book: my knowledge goes forth to point out the way, to pave straight its road. Lo, everyone who goes astray in the field of Torah, come and follow its path. The unclean and the fool shall not pass over it. It shall be called way of holiness. All right, so like for me, that line there, everyone who goes astray in the field of Torah, come and follow its path. Meaning you could be in the field of Torah and still go astray, right? It's not just, people have this false thinking that, okay, I have a Chumash in front of me or I have a Gemara in front of me and nothing can happen to me. I know that my line my derech to Hashem cannot be obscured, and it cannot be twisted, and it cannot. That's not true. That's not true. In fact, I think many times in history, people have learned the Chumash, the Bible. They have learned the Gemara, and there are things that they didn't understand, and because of that, they went off the path. They strayed off the path, and he's telling us to. I'm gonna pave the road. Like the reason why the people have gone off the path is because the road wasn't paved. It was bumpy. You slid off, and I'm here to tell you that I've made it straight, and I've paved it, and only the unclean and the fool won't pass over this road, because now that it's clean, it's a way of holiness. I thought that was a beautiful way to introduce.
And just to add to that, when he says everyone who goes astray in the field of Torah, I would say that's probably who knows? He may be referring to people who actually study Torah, that don't go astray off the path of Torah. People that are in Torah and learning Torah and observant.
Yeah.
Now, there are a lot of people. I think from my recollection, I believe the Rambam touches upon it several times in this book. But he talks about masses of people who learn Torah but just don't know what it's about. Don't really know what it's about. And in this book, he brings out a lot of things that were controversial back then and still are today. But he's trying to shine light on everything, to get everybody straight, come and follow its path. That's why, so that's a very, very fitting pasuk, definitely. But it's an important point to note that many, many people, we're no one to judge, but there are many people that learn Torah that are really off the path within Torah. They're in Torah, but within Torah, they're just off the path.
Exactly. And by the way, also in Chagiga, there's a lot of, in Gemara Chagiga talks about a lot of concepts you're not allowed to learn alone, or you can't teach over unless there's more than one person, and so on. At the end of the day, there's the risk of learning a sefer by yourself and misinterpreting a lot of the information. That's why it's very important to have a Rav or someone that has some experience that learns with you, or to learn in a chavruta, which is something you and I, Warren, started. And for me, it was huge, right? Because you learn it by yourself, you have a tendency to sort of think you get it, and then you come up with these things that have totally off. So I think that's also a very important point before we get started on making your own interpretations to the Torah without having proper guidance.
Okay. So I guess we'll continue the same way that we did for Dat Tevunot, which means I'm the one that reads, but I'm the one that reads, and you guys are the one that comment and explain with your deep philosophical minds. Please stop me if you have anything to say or anything that sticks out. I'll do the same, and we'll go. What I noticed is that a lot of the chapters are very short and terse, and they're so it gives us an opportunity maybe to read each piece and then digest it and figure it out. So here, the epistle dedicatory. My honored pupil, Rabbi Joseph, may the rock guard you, son of Rabbi Yehuda. May his repose be in paradise. When you came to me, having conceived the intention of journeying from the country farthest away in order to read texts under my guidance, I had a high opinion of you because of your strong desire for inquiry and because of what I had observed in your poems of your powerful longing for speculative matters. This was the case since your letters and compositions in rhymed prose came to me from Alexandria before your grasp was put to the test. There were definitely a lot of poets in the golden age of Spain. This is probably a little bit before that, but certainly afterwards. There was a tremendous amount of poetry that was being written by some of the Sephardic sages. I said, however, perhaps his longing is stronger than his grasp.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When
interesting point.
Yeah. When thereupon You read under my guidance texts dealing with the science of astronomy, and prior to that, texts dealing with mathematics, which is necessary as an introduction to astronomy. My joy in you increased because of the excellence of your mind and the quickness of your grasp. Okay. So right away, I guess the Rambam is promoting the study of science and mathematics. And like, now I can respect you, right? Because you
Exactly.
study, right? Okay.
Well, I mean, the bottom line, to use maybe a Moroccan term, the Rambam was not going to teach a bobo. Sorry to use that word, but I mean, he was openly. He liked to deal with people that were intellectually strong, and he's not embarrassed to say it. He says it straight up. He's not going to waste his time explaining things to people that are not going to get it. Some people have criticized the Rambam for saying that, and he'll say it a bit further ahead. But that's the bottom line, and yeah, and he's telling his student that figure out that maybe you can get it. So let's give it a shot.
But it's not only mathematics, like the sciences and mathematics, as we're going to see throughout the book. He's a big proponent of any knowledge, any good knowledge. So he uses Aristotle a lot, disagrees with him a lot in this affair, but also agrees with him in many points. And I don't remember the name offhand. We'll come across it as we read it. But there was also an Arabic, Jimmy. I don't know if you remember. There was an Arabic work, philosopher.
Yes.
I forget his name, that he references a lot because of this incredible knowledge that he had. So any type of knowledge that he felt was true, he wasn't afraid to incorporate it. In contrast to many other rabbis who are. Many other rabbis just want to stay within the Torah realm, and the Rambam expanded that. And there are many rabbis who do as well.
Well, you have to be fearless, right? Because traditionally, I remember from when I was younger in my past in religious schools and so on, they didn't want or like you to go outside of the spectrum of what the Chachamim and the Rabbanim were teaching you, and they didn't want you to mix that kind of stuff because they were afraid that it could lead you to heretical thoughts, it could lead you astray. But Rambam was fearless. He was fearless. Again, why was he fearless? Because his strength in his emunah was so strong, and his foundational knowledge of Hashem was so strong, and of the Torah, that he was fearless and said, "Oh, I can do this, and I can use this to glorify Hashem." That's what the Rambam is doing, which is very novel, and it took everyone by storm. Back in history, he was put in cherem by many, as many knew, but this was all new. This is all a whole new thing. Never happened before. Greek philosophy in mixed with Torah, it's like meat and milk. Yeah, but he did it.
Yeah. Okay. I saw that your longing for mathematics was great, and hence I let you train yourself in that science, knowing where you would end. Where thereupon you read under my guidance texts dealing with the art of logic, my hopes fastened upon you, and I saw that you are one worthy to have the secrets of the prophetic books revealed to you, so that you would consider in them that which perfect men ought to consider. That's a big line, right? He's basically insinuating, if you want to gain perfection in knowledge, this is a book that you need to study. But at the same time, you need to be ready to study it, and not be ill prepared in your prior prerequisite knowledge, such as no math or no science. Thereupon, I began to let you see certain flashes and to give you certain indications. Then I saw that you demanded of me additional knowledge, and asked me to make clear to you certain things pertaining to divine matters, to inform you of the intentions of the mutakalimun in this respect. No note on what that word is.
I think that's the Arab philosophy.
Yeah,
yeah. I think, I'm not sure, but yeah, we'll find out soon.
Great word.
Yeah. And to let you know whether their methods were demonstrative, and
Yeah.
if not, to what art they belonged. And I also saw you had already acquired some smattering of this subject from people other than myself. You were perplexed, as stupefaction had come over you. Your noble soul demanded of you to find out acceptable words. Yet I did not cease dissuading you from this, and enjoining upon you to approach matters in an orderly manner. It's a way to do things. My purpose in this was that the truth should be established in your mind according to the proper methods, and that certainty should not come to you by accident. It's an interesting line over there, right? What? Because if certainty comes by accident, well, he's saying it's impossible. No, he's not saying it's impossible. He's saying that it is possible, but I don't think there's clarity. Like it's a false clarity. It's there's no proof. There's no foundation to it without going through the proper process.
Well, no, it happens to me a lot. A lot of times, I'll read the Parsha Friday night, and I think I get something. I go, "Oh, this is pretty interesting stuff," and in my mind, I got it. I got something interesting, and then the next morning, I'll speak to someone that really knows what they're doing, like like you, Rabbi. I see you, and I ask you, and I'm totally off. Like I totally got it wrong, and so I think that's what the risk with a lot of young people when they learn alone have a tendency to, they go, oh, I get it, and in their mind it's done, and they move on to another, whereas it may be completely off, and I think that's the point he's trying to make. I've been through this, so I understand what he's saying. I've been through the student that doesn't know what he's got a concept that's just not making sense, but you think it does.
Yeah. Whenever during your association with me, a biblical verse or some text of the sages was mentioned in which there was a pointer to some strange notion, I did not refrain from explaining it to you. Then, when God decreed our separation, and you betook yourself elsewhere, these meetings aroused in me a resolution that had slackened. Your absence moved me to compose this treatise, which I have composed for you and for those like you, however few they are. I have set it down in dispersed chapters. All of them that are written down will reach you where you are, one after the other. Be in good health.
So one interesting thing he says there is, however few they are. So he wrote this not for the masses. He really wrote this for people who are really, really searching for more. They want more, which is the minority of people. Majority of people are content. So that's interesting.
And that's the reality, right? Like 1,000 years later, how many Jews have learned this Sefer?
Correct.
Right? Yeah. Out of the millions of Jews that have existed in the last 1,000 years, how many have actually opened up this Sefer? How many of you know it exists, let alone open up an attempt to read it?
Mm-hmm.
Right? So yeah, however few they are, which also teaches me like his greatness, right? Like we live in a world that is so begging for publicity and so begging to be known and get your how many followers and how many people are going to read what I'm going to say. And there's always a little part of us in us that like want to make ourselves well known. And the Rambam is like, I'm writing this and I don't even know how many people are going to read it. And, I don't know if he felt that way with the Yad HaChazakah. I doubt it. The Mishneh Torah, I doubt it, because I think that was his purpose of Mishneh Torah was
for the masses.
For the masses.
Yeah.
It was for everybody. And like, you can even don't have to learn Gemara. That's like his famous line. This is it, and that's controversial in itself, but he did it. And millions of Jews have learned it, have owned it in their homes. But here he's very much admitting, I'm not looking to make the top 10 videos in in YouTube history. That's not what he's trying to attain. So I think it's important that he put this down there, and we're the lucky ones to get to learn it.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm looking at the time. I'm conscious of the time. I don't know about you, gentlemen. What do you say? For those watching online, we do have a time limit on how far we learn on Thursday nights. But what do you say?
Do we go straight to 10 or we stop here before the introduction? Up to you.
I'm okay for time. We can maybe go another 10, 15 minutes. It's up to you.
Okay, so let's begin the introduction of the Rambam, and we'll start reading. Again, here he quotes a few psukim, one in Tehillim, one in Mishlei, and another one in Mishlei. Cause me to know the way wherein I should walk. For unto thee have I lifted my soul. Unto you, O men, I call, and my voice is to the sons of men. Incline thy ear and hear the words of the wise, and apply thy heart unto my knowledge. The first purpose of this treatise is to explain the meanings of certain terms occurring in books of prophecy. Some of these terms are equivocal. Hence, the ignorant attribute to them only one or some of the meanings in which the term in question is used. Others are derivative terms. Hence, they attribute to them only the original meaning from which the other meaning is derived. Others, I'm assuming to give some examples. Others are amphibulous terms, so that at times they are believed to be univocal, and at other times equivocal. It is not the purpose of this treatise to make its totality understandable to the vulgar or to beginners in speculation, nor to teach those who have not engaged in any study other than the science of the law, which I mean the legalistic study of law. What does it mean, the legalistic study of law? Is that...
Again, when he's referring to studying science of the law, he's referring, the law is the Torah or it's natural law?
Probably the Torah.
I think it's
not the
Torah.
purpose of this treatise to make it totally understandable the longer.
It's funny how the author capitalizes the word law.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's got to be Torah.
It's got to be. I think it's got to be Torah law.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the legalistic study of the law probably means Talmudic law. Like they would have to know halakha. They would have to know the Talmud. Yeah. Not just the stories of Tanakh.
Yeah.
Just a word of caution, Rabbi, you mentioned that he's hopefully going to give examples of what he spoke about. I don't remember because it's been 15, 20 years, but I do remember that he doesn't expand so much. In this work, he's very concise.
Yeah.
And this is why I found myself having to reread passages, go back and reread them to really get an inkling of understanding of what was in them. So I can't say for sure. We'll go a bit more to see if he gives an example, but if not, we should go back and try to figure out these three distinctions he's making with the terms, because that's the whole subject of this chapter.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm still puzzled by the word amphibulous. Amphibulous. You guys know what that means?
Look, I'm very upfront and open, and I'm going to show my vulnerable side. There are going to be many words that I know I'm not going to understand in this book, but I just hope I understand it in the context of the paragraph that he's,
Great word. It just means ambiguous.
Like
now we have Google.
Yeah. So, you Googled it? Okay, listen.
I Googled it.
And what is it?
Like I understand.
Ambiguous. It's another word for ambiguous.
It's ambiguous? Okay.
Okay.
That's what I meant by ambiguous or equivocal or ambiguous.
Okay.
So now, even the word vulgar, I know what the word vulgar means, but why doesn't he want this to be understandable totally to the vulgar?
It's very straightforward in the sense that what he's trying to say is he doesn't want people that don't have a Torah base. That when he said, for him, people that are vulgar are people that have no connection to Torah or God. So it's a Jew that's no connection to Torah or God. It's very different, for example, from a Chabad perspective. But this is Rambam. We have to accept that this is Rambam. He had a way, and he's pretty much saying that he doesn't want, just a guy that wakes up and goes to work and eats in the pub back in the days, 1100s, and he's just going to pick this book up and understand it. That's what he's trying. He wants Talmidei Chachamim, or people that have a basis in Torah law to read this. So you need a foundation. You can't just pick it up and go, right?
I think that also includes people that are smart enough, that are looking for philosophy. His intention is that's not his audience for this book, even though, because they likely will not get it. We'll see as we get deeper into it. These are concepts that are so tied into Torah that even someone who's extremely intelligent won't appreciate it. So that's why I don't think he excludes them as part of his audience.
Okay.
Yep. Straight up.
For the purpose of this treatise and of all those like it is the science of law in its true sense. Or rather, its purpose is to give indications to a religious man for whom the validity of our law has become established in his soul and has become actual in his belief. Such a man being perfect in his religion and character, and having studied the sciences of the philosophers and come to know what they signify.
Okay, that second part probably knocks all three of us out.
Yeah,
He's saying you gotta be a Rav, and aside from you have to know the Greek philosophers inside out. So other than my Aristotle 101A at university, that's it. Not much more for me. So he wouldn't be happy about us studying the book, but hey, that's what it's all about.
Like you mentioned, earlier when we started, I even said the story, I think it was last Shabbat during the drasha of the man who met a professor, right? And they were a topic, and the professor was like, Jewish professor goes, have you studied Kant? Have you studied Freud? How do you know that you're right? How do you know your way is right? And the Rav was like, it was a yeshivish Rav. He said, I saw the Chafetz Chaim. That's all I need to know, right? And it's a different way. It's a different track. They didn't study Freud, didn't study Kant, didn't study Aristotle. They're not interested. Because we would say the Haredim or the Hasidim, the more right-wing Judaism, are totally disinterested in studying foreign philosophies, and that's why one of the reasons why they had problems with this works of the Rambam, because the Rambam seems to imply if you don't fit this criteria, then don't waste your time reading this. Now, maybe he's not forcing people to read it. He's not saying everyone has to read this. He's saying, but if you are going to read it, then you better be prepared. Otherwise, you're not going to understand what's happening here. That's what I'm getting from this.
Yeah, what it could be also, it could be you have to take time into consideration. 900 years ago, back then, people did not generally have the knowledge, not nearly the knowledge that we have today. Yeah. So you can read this as saying that the Rambam might be saying that this book is for someone that has no Torah knowledge, but is also an intellectual. He's not,
has worldly knowledge. Worldly knowledge along with
the worldly knowledge back then was Aristotle. It was limited, whereas today it's different, right? So
So what happens is it's amazing. It's like this book was written for today. It was written 1,000 years ago for very few people, but today everybody's is going to university. Everybody's got questions. Rabbi, that I'm very much in favor of making sure the kids have answers to their questions, especially, how come the world is 6,000 years old, but it's 14.8 billion according to science. We have to have the answers for that, because the kids today have a lot of information at their fingertips, and they get led astray because of that. And the rabbanim, the rabbis, I think, not all, but the ones that are dealing, especially with kiruv, especially with young people, have to have this knowledge, the outside world knowledge as well. If not, the kids just know too much access to information today, and we're going to lose them. So that's my position. I think this book is perfect for today's world.
Okay. Let's maybe finish the paragraph. The human intellect, having drawn him on and led him to dwell within its province, he must have felt distressed by the externals of the law and by the meanings of the above-mentioned equivocal, derivative, or amphibolous terms, as he continued to understand them by himself, or was made to understand them by others. Hence, he would remain in a state of perplexity and confusion as to whether he could follow his intellect, renounce what he knew concerning the terms in question, and consequently consider that he has renounced the foundations of the law.
Wow.
Torah.
Wow.
Or
what he's saying here, he's just very quickly, he's concerned about the person who really has a hard time understanding the traditional way of learning, and that they're afraid to break out of it. They're afraid. They're thinking something doesn't make sense. As an example, this doesn't make sense, but they're so scared to break free from that. And that's where he says, renouncing the foundations of the law.
Yeah.
Consider renouncing it. Okay. Okay. I think
there we go.
What happened there?
I'm not sure. I was waiting for you. I thought you were reading. You were like this. I thought you were reading.
I thought like the internet police decided to unplug us.
I don't know. Maybe like
they didn't like the glasses or something. I don't know.
These guys off the World Wide Web immediately. All right, let me read that sentence again. I don't know if you heard it. Or he should hold fast to his understanding of these terms, and not let himself be drawn on together with his intellect, rather turning his back on it and moving away from it, while at the same time perceiving that he had brought loss to himself and harm to his religion. He would be left with those imaginary beliefs to which he owes his fear and difficulty, and would not cease to suffer from heartache and great perplexity.
Amazing.
Incredible.
Amazing. So he's talking about, he really cares, because he's talking about someone that's really like, having a
disturbed.
Hard time. Yeah, disturbed. He's learning. He wants to learn. He wants to go with consensus, but in his mind, certain things don't make sense. But he's too afraid to break free from them. He has the choice to break free from them, but he's too afraid. So he becomes extremely troubled and conflicted. Yeah. Part of it's the truth. There are people like that.
I would venture to say that back in those days, it was minimal amounts of people, because most people lived within the community. They didn't get out. They didn't go to university. They didn't have internet and social media and so on. And that's why it's amazing how it's so relevant for today. I've said that, just said it before, but I look at this, it's like prophetic, right? Because this student that he's talking to, no doubt went to university. In my opinion, based on what I'm seeing, if this is a student that he was learning Torah with, that had university background and was asking the Rambam very, very intelligent questions. And the rabbi thought about it and said, "I'm going to have to set him straight." And that's
I gotta
today.
basically.
It's very relevant.
I gotta give him the truth. I can't withhold it from him.
Exactly.
What's happening here? Yeah.
Even if it's going to scare him a little bit.
Okay, gentlemen, this was great. This was amazing. What can I say? We look forward to doing it again. For those that are watching, you can join us Thursday nights. Although next week, I think we're going to be off because it's a long weekend here in Canada, and I won't be in town. But the Bezat Hashem, we will reconvene, and you can always find these I guess this learning on YouTube and other shiurim. By all means, you're welcome to listen to some classes that we give at the Sfarta Kila Center. But again, this is just three perplexed Jews trying to figure out the deep words of the Rambam, and that's it. I will stop the stream for the first shiur, and Chazak Baruch, guys.
Chazak Baruch.